delivering. First of all, you all missed, and you were grateful, but we had a general faculty meeting yesterday where, that's the part you're grateful because they lasted very long. But they're always enjoyable, a hoot. After our faculty meeting, however, we had a faculty award ceremony yesterday. And yes, and some of our very own colleagues received awards. So we wanted to honor, first of all, Molly Ceramic, who received an honorable mention for excellence in teaching in the undergraduate theater department and in our own program. Congratulations, Molly, and thank you for your work and support in building an inclusive and dynamic educational and creative environment for our community. Also, J.P. Scheidler, I almost mispronounced it. It's been a long week, or a long semester. J.P. Scheidler earned recognition for his 20 years of service at Mary Baldwin. He taught stage combat and later movement in the very first MLIT cohort, courses that he still teaches today, along with his work in the undergrad department. His professionalism, kindness, and its exuberant approach to teaching movement choreography, and directing distinguish him as an incredible resource to our community. Thank you. And last, but certainly not least, Finch. Put that down. Finch earned recognition for her 5 years of service to Mary Baldwin. Yeah, that's news. This distinction is, of course, to borrow a phrase from Dr. Menzer, bittersweet. Because we learned earlier this week that Finch accepted an exciting new position that allows her to evolve and grow her exceptional organizational and managerial skills in a new landscape. We are so happy for you, and we're happy that you'll be challenged in a new role, because if you know Finch, then you know that she thrives on tackling new challenges, designing new systems and spreadsheets, but all really in an effort to help people do their work better, smarter, and more efficiently. She certainly changed and supported our operations in the S&P program for the better. And we've achieved more with Finch's thoughtful organization, her streamlined systems, her supervision and guidance of graduate fellows, her dedication to admissions work, her liaison work with the ASC, her thesis management, and her ability to maintain multiple calendars, forums, newsletters, and social media. You get the picture that this program relies on her expertise on so many levels, but because she always thinks ahead, she's also made her work visible for her predecessor. I think this is also, she's done this because she's a teacher at heart, and she understands how to set people up for success. I will miss her deeply. I admire her thoroughly, and I appreciate her for reasons far too many to count. And rest assured, Katie Shyness, wherever you are in this room, she'll still call Stanton her home, so we in S&P. The biggest round of applause.
We wanted to make sure Finch had to be in the spotlight for the longest possible period. I joined the program at the same time as Finch stepped into her role full-time. In my very first all-program meeting, for those of you there, I reflect on the fact that in my new role, Doreen and Matt were my bosses, Dr. Cook was my boss above them, Dr. Menzer, my boss above her, and the one person I'd already learned but I had to listen to most was Finch. For those of us in the streetlight generation and younger, Finch is so integrally interwoven with the program, it's impossible to imagine what it's going to be like without her. Doreen's spoken to what Finch has done for the program, and I want to follow up on that by making some of her work a bit more visible. The operations manager is in important ways the program stage manager. And like so much stage management work, it's work that doesn't draw attention to itself in the act of performing. For those of you who've admired how a good stage manager is able to create order amidst a chaotic rehearsal room, just imagine what it's like doing that with a motley group of academics, provosts, visiting artists, students, applicants, grad fellows, and the occasional stray bat that's made its way into your Every time that you don't notice the programme spiralling into chaos, there's a good chance that Finch is the reason. But Finch is as much house manager as stage manager. For many of the people in this room, Finch was our first formal contact with the programme. A little over 2 years ago, she picked me and the scholar Dr. Susan Anderson up from a motel in Charlottesville, and during the next 45 minutes I learned more about the flora and fauna of the Shenandoah Valley than I thought. A few months later, she escorted me into my new apartment and presented me with the most amazing welcome basket. Finch is the one who welcomes our students, our guests and our collaborators into the community. Her grace and poise, her wit and clarity, her consummate professionalism and her disarming personability, to me, embody the ethos of S&P that made me, for one, want to pack in my life and move across the ocean in the first place. Because when I met Finch, she made me feel like I'd come home. And I'm not the only person she's done. She's stage manager, she's house manager, and of course she's an artist. Many people have seen her own artwork, from her extraordinary doodling to her larger pieces. Those of you who came to As You Like It last week will have seen her amazing programme and poster design. As a designer, she's rigorous and a little bit fancy. She's even managed to create flowcharts to make the IRB application process look intuitive and like something we might actually want to do. Her own directed production of As You Like It from a few years ago is the stuff of legend, and of course, she made a triumphant return to the stage only recently as Hestia in Medlock's Noble Heart, where she reminded us of her power and empathy as a performer. And lastly, of course, she's a teacher. Some of you will have taken pedagogy with her and seen the detail and care she puts into her practice. Most of you will at the very least have taken her amazing abstract workshops. And Finch has been an invaluable co-conspirator to me as we've revised the thesis process over the years. Finch is a true multi-hyphenate in the sense that we want S&P to represent, and we've been exceptionally lucky to keep learning from her during her time in this role. And of course, we all continue to learn from her and will. Just ask her about underwater creatures, your current mood at this particular point in the astrological calendar, flavour combinations in your cooking, or of course anything about the local bird life. And even if we were shamefully beaten by Hayley, P and Millie last on Wednesday, I'm immensely grateful that Finch staying in town means our trivia team remains. Finch's connection to this community go far beyond any job title, but losing her from her role is an immense loss. And for those who have a glass, I'd like you to join me in toasting Finch. To Finch.
Hello everyone. Hello. I'm very much looking forward to joining you in a glass of wine, but I'm not going to do so quite yet. Although this reception honours our graduates after a hard-fought and hugely rewarding year, we would like to take a few minutes to remember an alum who passed away just a couple of weeks ago. My dear friend Bob Jones, and I'm going to perform being a heartless cad so that this doesn't move me. Trial 2. While Bob was something of a legend around here, he was a legend in many lifetimes. He last visited Stanton to deliver a paper at the 2019 Black Friars Conference. As a result, many in this room won't know of Bob's truly remarkable life. It ought to. So, I will offer a few personal reflections by way of introducing my old friend before passing over to Sarah Kenler. A peer of Bob's in this programme who went on to head the ASC Education Department for many successful years, who will share memories and sentiments from S&P friends both near and far. I first met Bob at some dusty stage door on the campus, it's not very deep, on the campus of the University of Texas at Austin in 2003, after a performance of a touring production of Measure for Measure. He proceeded to take the piss out of my performance, thereby setting the tone for a long friendship based on mutual respect and merciless mockery. I was intrigued. He insisted we had to experience the bars of 6th Street that very night, along with his angelic pal, David Boss. Never trust the boss. The following evening's hastily reblocked performance at the Shakespeare at Wynedale Historical Centre in an open-sided German barn during the sweltering heat of the Texas Hill Country is one I shall never forget, unlike the night before, for which there are fortunately no memories. Little did either of us know that a year later I would be headed to UT Austin as a rather antediluvian student myself, under the solicitous care and guidance of Wynedale Programme Director Dr. James Lolan and his wife Laurel, and always the wicked influence of Bob Jones. How could I ever leave? Nor could we have known how much of an outsized role the diminutive Bob would play in the wonder years of Shakespeare at Wynedale, where he dedicated 20 springs and or summers to that life-changing programme, as a student, then as James's TA and assistant director, as well as volleyball captain, drinking buddy, and shoulder to lean on. Part Ariel, all Puck. I'm sure a part of him is still there, Bob on the Bardo. Nor could we have known then the critical role that Wynedalers would come to play in the formation of the nascent Shakespeare performance programme here in Stanton, where Bob was one of the first intrepid explorers to beat a 1,500-mile path that continues to funnel fearless, revitalising Shakespeare nerds into the Shenandoah Valley to this day. And we certainly never imagined that I would join him in Stanton as a newly minted professor 7 years after we first met on that dusty afternoon. With me once again relying on his network of new friends and old drinking holes, along with fellow Wynedale S&P alum and brother-in-arms, Casey Caldwell, now Dr. Caldwell. When Bob returned to UT Austin to take up his own PhD studies under James, I joked that he needed to stop stalking my career. That there was only one bowl of porridge for Baby Bear at that particular table. The reverse, of course, was true. I'd been following in Bob's footsteps for years, his slight body casting a long shadow in which I was always happy to walk. Bob's body was always fragile. It was probably the second thing you noticed about him after those fearless eyes and flashing smile, while internally wondering, perhaps, how someone so frail could last so long. But Bob's physical challenges made him who he was, uncomplaining, determined to the point of belligerence, above all, mordantly funny. If Bob's mind was Shakespearean, his body was all Beckett, a playwright that we both loved. Back in Austin, I had the privilege of seeing his nag popping out of a trash can in Beckett's Endgame to hear his etiolated wife, Nell, opine, "There's nothing funnier than unhappiness." Bob reminded us of that vital, essential truth, of that deathless line every day of his life. By the time I arrived, Bob had already graduated the programme, which is fortunate since he'd never listened to anything I had to perform with the American Shakespeare Centre. Especially noteworthy as many of those roles were in the company-led Actors Renaissance season, which is normally reserved for veteran professionals. Like an inverse Falstaff, paradoxically a role he was born to play, Bob used his apparent physical deficiencies to his advantage. While he gleefully cornered the market in weasels, fanatics, and comic wobegons, he was tough, tougher than anyone I knew, and he could show it. Perhaps the first role I saw him play on the Blackfriars stage was Sunset in the ASC's 2010 production of 2 Henry VI. As told by Ben Kearns, who played the Duke of Gloucester and staged the play's many fights, when he and Bob first met to choreograph their mortal combat, standing next to an antagonist at least 3 times his size, Bob said, "Well, I suppose we should make something of this." He just asked that Somerset be skillful and landed some blows before his inevitable demise. The fight was savage, the death truly memorable. I hazard that no actor has been hoisted quite so high above the Blackfriars stage. Many in this room know that my colleague Doreen Bechtold is the only actor to have flown out of the ceiling track. I imagine she and Bob meeting mid-air, smiling and shaking hands before going their separate ways. As some here know only too well, our Shakespeare communities have lost 2 legends this year, with James tragically passing 6 months before Bob. When I look at this photo of Bob's doctoral graduation, I'm reminded above all that we should cherish our friends. Bob would balk at a morbid memorialization of his time here. So I will leave with this brief testimony with an exchange between Estragon and Vladimir from another of our favourite Beckett plays, Waiting for Godot. You must go on. I can't go on. I'll go on. We'll go on, Bob, but we'll miss you always. Thank you. And,
As always, a difficult act to follow, especially in an emotional state. Thank you, Matt. And thank you to all of you for giving me this time in your incredibly special weekend to remember our friend. This is a special day for all of you, and it's going to be a remarkable weekend. And this is the culmination of so much hard work and, of course, a lot of plays. Obviously, I want to congratulate you first and tell you that your predecessors, me, and the people who are watching this on streaming, are really delighted that you are joining our family of graduates of S&P. Welcome. Our time together at NPU, mine and my cohorts, probably shared some qualities with yours. I wonder if you ever had beer at Baja, or study sessions at Grafton, or scene rehearsals wherever you can find a place, or jamming on a paper late at night, not the day before it was due. No. I never did that. My class did get a few things that maybe yours didn't, and I'm going to encourage those of you who haven't graduated yet to maybe lobby for these to return, like trips to Italy. And the UK. Yeah, we're just going to go through Italy here. Keep going. This is my good buddy Bob in Italy, doing all the things that Bob loved to do, especially that. This is Bob trying to get into the Roman globe. And we'll start there. He was such a terrific actor, such a terrific friend. Studying right. All of these things and the people we encountered doing them changed us and shaped us. Today, I want to honor the memory of one person who was essential to the shaping of my time here, in the hope that the memories will be something that you can relate to and maybe learn from. These are the words of the people who were touched by Bob while he was in Stanton and beyond. Starting with Ralph. Bob Jones was a luminous and joyful presence wherever he was, as a student in a classroom or a workshop, as an actor on stage, as a dinner companion in Venice. As a presenter at a workshop or a conference, he brought with him a gleam, partly of intellect, partly of mischief, partly of affection for those around him that made any room, this room, for one, brighter and warmer and just better. Bob Jones simply made us all better and made us all love even more what we do here. We who knew him will always feel his presence here. And those who didn't know him, if they are lucky, will uphold his spirit and might feel it as well. From Claire Kimball.
Bob Jones was a good and supportive friend. He was kind, with an incredible sense of humor. At Mary Baldwin, he helped build a community of curiosity, bravery, and delight.
From Lauren Mignon.
I don't know what words I'd say. I don't know if there are words. He lived life in such a pure and big way. He reminded me to do the same.
From Caroline Gaddy.
Bob Jones was a delight of a human. This pic arose from a joke in rehearsal about being a man puppet. It's a quintessential Bob moment and a delightful snapshot of our friendship. He was so clever and deeply funny and had the very best of hearts. I know that I'll be carrying Bob in my heart all the time.
From Chelsea Phillips.
He was a deeply silly person and loved a bad joke. The way he spoke verse to bring every little bit of charm, innuendo, meaning, gravity, just everything out of it. You could listen to him speak and perform for hours. There was always a chance to hear something new.
From Lauren Shell.
Bob was not only an amazing actor, he was a great friend.
From Asai Dean.
It's difficult to fully appreciate someone so kind, so funny, so brilliant. I admired him as a person, an artist, a critic, and a friend. I loved him, and the world is harder, tougher, darker without him.
Frank Gett.
An incredible soul.
Andy Glassman.
Nothing says it all other than whatever moments we had were always made better with Bob there.
Bob was a treasure. He engaged deeply and so lightly. He had an uncanny knack for texting and calling at just the time his insight and his humor was needed. Maybe some of you share that knack, or have touched your classmates in ways similar to Bob. I can easily imagine that the friendships you formed here will echo the memories my classmates and I share. Make sure you share them with one another. Because your next chapter, like your most recent, may resemble some that have already been written and may go in a totally different direction. Some of you, like Claire Kimball and Asai Dean, will work in professional theater, or like Lauren Shell in the film industry. Others, like Caroline Gaddy, will continue your education in another field. Some, like me, Andy Blasnick, Lauren Mignon, will teach in middle and high school classrooms. Others, like Chelsea Phillips and our dear Bob Jones, will pursue a PhD and work in academia. All of you who've learned together these last few years in a set course of study designed to give you the opportunity to become authorities in the guy who was not of an age but for all time, and to wrestle with what his work reflects in the present. That path now is totally yours to make. And it may contain bends and unexpected turns, but you are on your own to discovering what your new understanding will take you. As you go, I hope that some of your laughter and your silliness that you have experienced together will continue to be part of your story, and that you will treasure these years and these people for the rest of your lives. One more insight from a friend of Bob's. From Jack Reed. If you were lucky to have Bob care about you, which, if you ever met Bob, he probably cared about you, I want to share a two-word expression he gifted to me in a difficult moment. It's deep time. It's that feeling that even when we don't know what the next day, week, or month may hold, we can embrace a longer, less specific sense of time and feel a kind of consolation.
That concludes our, it's hard to follow that up, but thank you all for being with us and reflecting on a life and a bright light in our community. And thank you to Sarah and to Matt for that beautiful tribute. And just looking at all of your faces is just giving me goosebumps right now in terms of how much you all mean and you all mean to one another. And I want you to now go off and eat cheese.
Bob would want you to handle it.
So please enjoy yourselves, and thank you so much for breathing with us and being with us as we process this beautiful life. Thank you.
Once more to Bob.
Boop.